La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
Get out the matrix and live.
You know what day it is? Inner Wealth Podcast. Meditate and give. So manifest the greater this. And things all good cause I say it is. Invest in your inner wealth. Real generational wealth is mental health. It's an inside game, no toxicity. Let's talk and more listening. Ladies and gentlemen, and now introducing David McCullar, founder of Inception, the first mental health gym.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
Get out the matrix and live.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Inner Wealth Podcast. I got two special guests in the building. Again, everybody's special when they come on the Inner Wealth Podcast. I got Safaa and I got Faith. How you doing, ladies? What up, though?
Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, David. Thank you for having us.
So, most people don't realize that Michigan has the largest Middle Eastern community in the United States. And I've grown up around a lot of Middle Easterners and had good relationships with a lot of them. And recently, I was inboxed about somebody from the community really supporting what I've been doing, and they thought that what I was doing for my community was very good and powerful. And I felt like, well, we need to do this for all communities, specifically the Middle Eastern community, which is, and when we're talking about do this, means have these conversations. It's just what it is. It's a conversation around mental, emotional health, and how do we become more aware that we need to take care of ourselves.
Right.
So how was it for you guys growing up, like in Michigan and being Middle Eastern in a American society?
That's a large question.
I know.
It is.
It was interesting. I mean, so growing up, I grew up in Egypt, in Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of my foundation of my culture and religion. I came back in 94, and, you know, things kind of were normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then after high school,
Did you go to high school here?
I did.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Crestwood.
Crestwood?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
Dearborn Heights.
Oh, Dearborn. What about you?
I went to Fortson.
I've heard of Fortson.
I graduated from Fortson. I grew up in Dearborn.
Okay.
Born and raised there. You know, I grew up my parents were married. I have a brother and a sister. Very traditional family.
Yeah.
My parents got divorced when I was about 16, I think, or 17.
And that's kind of unheard of in the community, right? Or did you see that start, both of you, when did you start to see divorce starts to become a thing in the Middle Eastern community? Because that's typically, if you get in, you don't get out, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, I think
Mostly.
yeah, and the rise of mental health, I think people just started leaving. I mean, it was just like either leave, or, you know, or what's going to happen. I mean, it was, my parents didn't get along. You know, when they got divorced, shortly after I got married, you know, I think getting away is one way, you know, to deal with the mental health.
Is to try to improve it, get out of the environment.
Get out of the environment.
Is that what you saw growing up, or how was your situation growing up?
So growing up, my parents, they were together for a while, but then, you know, problems started happening, and then my parents got divorced, and my father shortly after that passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you think that what's the foundational issue for the divorces to happen?
So it could be many different things, but I think in our culture, it's, you know, a lot of families and couples stay together because they don't want that stigma of, they just don't want that stigma of we're getting a divorce, because that's like shamed upon. It's frowned upon in our culture.
Do you think it's healthier though? Do you think it's healthier for the people to stay together and try to work it out?
No, it is not healthier.
Because they're not working it out?
No,
they're just staying together.
Yeah. Plus, you want a healthy relationship. And I feel like if there are kids involved, the kids pick up on that. Mm-hmm. And that is a very unhealthy way to be for the kids, to see that.
Mm-hmm. So you think that in the culture, do you find that there's couples going to get help? Like, not, I want to use the word going to get help, but let's put it like that. Going to get help. Going to sit down. No, that's not a thing.
Not at all. You know why? Because I have a lot of women approach me and say, my husband's doing this, my husband's doing that, and they want it to work. But they suggest therapy, and the men don't want therapy because, in our culture, it's like I said, it's frowned upon if you ask for help.
So who frowns upon it?
It's a community. It's the community as a whole. I think it's not just like one person. It's family members, aunts, uncles, sisters, brothers,
friends.
You have, and then it's just like the thing is, word spreads quick in that community. So it's like you do something, and instead of people taking that and turning it into positive, energy, and turning it into something that's good and okay because it's for the greater good, they turn it into negative. Oh, this person is on drugs, or this person is this, and they are doing this. And then it just spreads. Is
it like a scarlet letter in a sense? The scarlet letter is?
No, what is it?
You know what that is? It's like the book, The Scarlet Letter. It's like, well, in the book, it was a woman who was, I can't remember if she was a prostitute or whatever. They put a letter on her head.
Yeah.
Like that represented shame.
And they made her walk around with it or keep it on, the entire
so
time.
It's almost like you receive like a scarlet letter towards like
basically
things that are like really not even inside your control, right?
Exactly. Outside of your control.
Outside your control, right.
Absolutely. And it's just sad because in a sense you're taking something that someone's been through and using it against them, and when they're trying to get help, and it's not an easy world. It's not an easy life. Like, just living in general, people aren't easy to deal with. Everybody's dealing with problems.
Right.
Everybody's dealing with mental health. You can't tell me there isn't a person that isn't. There's always something. Nobody's perfect. I think social media has a big play in that.
So we're going to talk about that too. But what do you see, Safaa, between, you talked about the kind of like the scarlet letter. Is it more towards women, or men get it equally the same? The mess ups or whatever.
I think it's kind of equal, but I'm going to give you an example. Something that happened a few years ago. Someone reached out to me and said, are you okay? I heard you're going through something. And I said, no, I'm not okay. And I shared my experience of what was going on. I was like in trauma mode. And this person, he was just, constantly asking questions. And I said, I don't want to talk about this anymore because I was traumatized. Mm-hmm. So I shut it down. Well, he took it as I was just being dramatic. And then he kept texting me as, I'm going to categorize you as a drama queen. And all because I said I didn't want to talk about it anymore because I was traumatized by this situation. Mm-hmm. So it's like the Middle Eastern mentality is so unbelievable when it comes to people reaching out. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to handle it. And when you do voice your opinion, or if you do voice that something's going on, they think you're being dramatic, and it's really not.
You're just being dramatic.
Yeah, and that's why people do not.
The people won't. So that would shut down people feeling safe.
Exactly.
Do you feel emotionally safe within the culture? Like you can express how you feel?
No,
definitely not.
No, because people are very judgy.
So how do you do it with inside the culture? And first of all, let me back up. Do you feel like you're a part of the culture still, or you just kind of like on an island?
No, I feel like I'm a part of the culture. I
Okay.
just feel like there are certain people you can go to. You have to be very careful of who you reach out to.
Well, that's no
Right.
different than all cultures. I would
Right.
say that's within our culture, but understanding boundaries. And that sounds like, from what I'm hearing, that there's a lack of boundaries.
There are
Huge.
definitely a huge lack of boundaries and intention, and in general, being able to pinpoint and to know what people's intentions are is probably one of the hardest things.
In the Chaldean, I mean, in the Middle Eastern
Yeah,
culture,
yeah.
it's hard to be
It's
able to
hard
have
to
a
be-
discernment.
Yeah, to be able to tell, like, is this person trying to hurt me or is this person trying to help me? Because people do have agendas.
Because they all come with smiles.
Yeah, they do.
It's
They all
so
come,
sad.
and it's so sad.
We see
Yeah.
it all the time, and it's just getting worse.
And it's funny because just the past, few weeks, me in general, like when I meet people and stuff, I automatically start testing them just to see, I'll do it, and it's just sad, and it never fails. It never fails.
That somehow something you said to them
Yeah.
got back
Yeah,
around.
and I throw specific details just to
Just
see.
to see.
Yeah, and it's sad that you have to do that. Honestly, these are things that I don't enjoy doing, but at the end of the day, I do have a lot to lose, and I don't have time for that, and I'm not gonna sit and play those games with people.
Do either you have male figures that are very trustworthy that you are able to speak to about how you feel about certain things? Is that present?
I have my father, who's very traditional.
Soph like,
Yeah.
Soph like, nah.
No, she's like, I don't. I just have my father, but it's not. It's not like I can come to him with much. He's very traditional, very old school, very. But other than that, no. I had one person, but he passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like and we spoke about this the other day. Does it seem like there's at least a shifting taking place within the culture?
For the worse, maybe.
So I feel like with the mental health, I feel like they're speaking about it more. Our community is coming out with different programs. Mental health is becoming a thing now, which is really nice because before, a few years ago, you wouldn't really hear about overdoses or mental health issues. So we have a lot of programs that are coming out. Let's say, for example, at Access in Dearborn, they're a wonderful nonprofit organization who offer therapy, psychiatry. A lot of people don't know that, but they're starting to become more aware of that. So yeah.
So you do see some shifting happening with that, but what do you see
Like,
like yourself? Like
yeah.
both of y'all seem very educated on the topic and open.
Yeah.
You're open enough to come here to even talk. So that's a shift, right?
But the fact of the matter is, I even have personally suggested people to go to Access, and I have referred them to the mental health and to the programs that they offer. I've even reached out to people that work there. A lot of people it's so bad that people are embarrassed to walk into there.
and that's
That's just like, when I hear that as a response, like, what if someone sees me? Or
Right.
that's when there's a deeper problem.
that is a real issue,
Yeah.
and I'll talk and speak to that, is because even in my own culture, is we've been behind in ideas about what mental health really means, and I don't even like using the term mental health. It's like, you're a human being.
Absolutely.
Like, go look at a rabbit. Go look at a rabbit. Just to go out and get food, he can get chased. He can like all types
For
of
real.
horrible, traumatic things can happen for that rabbit to go get food, right? And as human beings, we have things happen in our lives. Like, we're all going to experience trauma. That's for
Right.
certain. We're all going to experience trauma, unless you live in a bubble. And that's traumatic.
For
Right.
real.
And that's what I always say too is
Yeah.
everyone in this world experiences something, whether
Yeah.
it's anxiety, depression, whatever it is. We all go through something.
And everything you describe, anxiety, depression, that those are emotions. That's normal.
Right.
Like there's nothing,
And you know, some people think like, oh, their trauma is worse than other. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work. Like
you
trauma
can fall
doesn't
off
work
your
like
bike
that. Yeah.
and have trauma.
And it doesn't discriminate either. It's you know, and your trauma could be your hair doesn't look good. You know, that could be just as traumatic as for someone that experiences loss. It's really that those are levels that are real.
Let's talk about that. So at my high school, like if you're black growing up, you know you're gonna go to the barbershop. You have to go to the barbershop because how we get our hair cut. And it's interesting that I see the Middle Eastern community going to get haircuts like black people are for the longest, right? So we get fades, called fades, fade out our hair. So back in the day, they used to do bowl cuts. It's just a line around it, right? Like line around and it's shaved. So it's just like one big line. There's no blend.
Okay.
Like you can see how my hair is blended. There's no blend there. And I know a guy who had a bowl cut and came to high school, and it was a fire alarm, like one of those drills, fire drill, and like everybody in high school going out tapping and pointing to him and talking about his haircut. There's trauma right there that could happen.
Of course.
No, absolutely.
He could come in and shoot the school up based on that experience.
So that's bullying. That's a form of bullying, right?
Yeah.
And that happens all the time right now.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
So let's talk about cultural trauma within the United States, where specifically at the 9/11, how much did you see? Did you feel like you were less safe after that? Because they were really going hard after
100%.
Muslims at that point.
Absolutely.
So,
I still won't go to a mosque ever since September 11th. I
Really?
just don't. I avoid large gatherings in general. You know, that exists. It's real.
Yeah.
You know.
So what part exists exactly?
The discrimination, the threats, you know, all that. It is a real thing. I mean, it's nothing that, you know, that people are not scared. A lot of people are scared.
Has that altered you, either you, into the point where have you ever wore hijabs? No. Like, and you don't wear hijab anymore? No. Have you seen that, just trying to blend into American society? Have you found yourself, because we do it.
No,
Black people do it all the time.
No, I feel like some people, I mean, I would say there was probably a decrease in the amount of people that put it on now. They used to put it on at such a young age, you know, and I haven't been seeing that as much.
It's funny you say that, because my daughter was actually wanting to put the hijab on this year, but she kept saying, Mommy, I don't know how I would put it on. I would be the only one in school because, you know, we're in Birmingham now.
Okay.
And she said I would be the only one, and she didn't want to do it after that.
Yeah.
That thought.
Well, I mean, yeah, you kind of ostracized at that point.
Yeah, but she was really interested in doing that.
So that's been that again, we talked about off where we talking about the dyeing of the hair of the blonde, and this has been a real theme in the African American community. Like, do y'all share memes and stuff that talks about these issues? Because in our community,
we do.
There's a lot of memes around a lot of different things, and
you know, it's funny that you mentioned that. There are, but you do actually, and not necessarily memes. It can be just quotes, because you've sent some.
But do you share them that's very specific towards your community? Like, and even in Arabic language, like how
No.
You don't see things like that. That's just talking about, like, even if they're funny, you have that in the community, right?
I see it on social media. I see it on
Personally.
social media. But I don't read Arabic, so I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's another thing. So I don't.
Do you?
I don't.
You don't?
I do read Arabic, but I
Okay.
don't share any Arab memes or anything like that.
Okay. We talked about social media earlier. You alluded to it. You said it's making things worse. First of all, how old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay, so you're in that generation where you're kind of not really Gen Z, but almost.
No, I'm not
Right.
at all. Actually,
But-
I'm not.
But I'm saying just in close proximity.
Close,
But So how have you seen the social? How is that impacting
It's insane.
your
It's
culture?
terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
Like how? Give me some examples.
Go ahead, take it away, Faith.
You know, I never understood the effects of social media until probably I would say recently, where I caught myself, you know, saying I need a break. I need to deactivate these accounts. I need you just can't. It's just constant information. It's like and you're sitting there trying to differentiate what's real, what's fake, what's and it's funny because in nature, like I'm an overthinker. You know, just generally I am. So when you're seeing these things, you know, it makes you think, okay, you start to come up with more possibilities. You start to overthink more. So I've caught myself taking a break. You know, I need a break. I need a break from social media. I need a break from certain people. And I tell my friends sometimes, you know, I need to disappear. I gotta go. From time to time, I just gotta go. And
So that's why I had to shift what I post and what I don't post, what I read, who I follow, who's following me. It's just I have really high boundaries right now. Because social media can get to people. And it can be very destructive.
Yeah.
You know, with all the filtering, with all the bullying, with all the how many likes am I going to get, with all the how many followers. That is extremely unhealthy.
How have you seen materialism rise within your culture since you've been alive? Like you can see a upward trend in it.
Absolutely.
Well, cars.
Oh.
You know, I gotta have this car. I gotta have, you know.
So I
this.
have a love for cars. Cars is my
Most
thing.
Middle Eastern people that I've seen do. Listen, when we grew up, it was always we saw these Chaldean guys. They driving the Cadillacs. They listening to this Tupac. We like, how they get that car? Like it was all black people in cars is a thing too. So I know that's why I'm asking.
But another thing is they are hard workers. We do, you know, in a sense, like we kind like, you know, they do have Middle Easterns, Chaldeans, and you know, there are a lot of negative traits, you know, from all people, but they do work hard.
Do you feel less than though if you don't have a specific type of car, shoes, you know, all of those things?
No, because I think that would revolve around low self-esteem.
Yeah.
So if I have the car that I have right now because I want to be, you know, perceived a certain way, that's a different story. I just have a genuine love for fast cars.
But I'm talking about the whole collective culture. What do you see? Do you see that where it's like, because and for the listeners who don't know, you have a history of starting to do the mental emotional work for yourself. You have a foundation in that,
right?
And you do too in the
100%.
background, like so. But those who don't have that background. In the culture, and I talk about it for our culture all the time, is trying to self-soothe through consumerism or
1000%.
capitalism and purchasing and eating and sexing and, you know.
Absolutely.
Right. So a lot of that has been under control, right, over the last few years.
That's been under control?
It's been under control.
For who?
For myself.
Okay, I'm talking about the culture,
in general,
though.
in general, I think it is a problem.
Yeah.
It is. And, you know, and sometimes, too, it becomes your subconscious. You start to make up other kind of reasons why you like these things because you don't want to be categorized into that, you know, and into the general, you know, community. So you just, you know, for your own sake, you start to, you know, think that maybe if I get it for this reason,
right?
You know,
yeah.
Yeah. So how about women in the body contouring and you know all the plastic
really
surgery?
Want to go there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do. Absolutely, because those to me, those are all mental health issues that's being
definitely
put off as something else. Because again, if nobody ever said something about your appearance, you would never try to alter it.
Absolutely.
Right? If big butts was like the wrong thing, like, oh, you got a big butt, that's horrible, right? You would not go and get one, right? So
what if it's self-image, just for yourself?
Yeah, but even what does that mean? Because you got to break down what's self-image for yourself.
It's just looking at yourself and feeling comfortable. I want to change this about myself because I want to feel good and I want to look.
Okay.
I want to look how I used to look
okay.
when I was 20.
So let's go back down to feel good.
No, I understand what she's saying though.
I understand what she's saying,
because
too.
in a sense, I've been blessed. Thank God. So I didn't have to ever change my appearance. But I personally like the thinner body with the no butt, no boobs, and people always think I'm crazy.
You like that?
I do.
So that was the tradition.
Believe it or not, and I still till now like it.
But that in the 90s, that was the white woman.
Yeah.
And that was the acceptable white woman who walked on the stage. The runway model was the one that's just flat whenever. And then it became a real thing where I like big butts and I cannot lie. And that became like...
I don't know why. I never understood it. I probably won't ever understand
which part?
it. The butts and
well, first
honestly,
it became boobs. Then it was butt.
I just
and
don't.
Now we're going further and further, and it's not just I'm just asking in the Middle Eastern culture because you see it. You see it across
all
the whole
time.
Yeah,
it's going down. I mean, it's just the reality.
So I always push back when people say self-image. It's a part of it that you deserve to look good and everything of that nature. But when you going so far and you lost sight of you,
feeling good is a lot.
It's
better.
almost like if I saw you and I'd be like, you just went into witness protection because I can't even recognize you. You know what I'm saying?
There's so many people like that too. So many people on social media that are like that. It's funny. I did see a meme one time, and I was like. It was like, if you get lost, where nobody's going to be able to find you. They're not going to know.
Yeah, you're in witness protection.
But it is. It's funny, but
these are,
feeling better is more important than looking good. Being mental health is so much more important than looking good.
But the problem is that this is an American issue, and it's spreading across to other countries. Yeah. And it's the idea that I'm going to buy myself into feeling better.
Yeah,
right.
No,
and you're not going to buy yourself into feeling better.
So that's the thing is people get plastic surgery, they change their body image, but still, what's going on inside?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of trauma going on inside, a lot of mental health issues that needs to be addressed.
But most people be like, no, I just...
Well, I don't think they're educated. They don't know that there's help out there.
Well, I don't like to use the word help. It's just something about the word help and like something's wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us. Like, get help.
No.
So what word would you use?
Become the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And figure out and understand that you've been programmed from the time you were born to now. A lot of stuff that you believe is not even accurate. And then, too, you don't even question your own beliefs. And understanding that not feeling good does not have to be our day-to-day state of being. And then when we do not feel good, that we don't need to rush and go, well, maybe I need to buy a car. Well, maybe I need a bigger butt. Or maybe I need to go and get a girlfriend. Or maybe I need to, all these things that we're just trying to feel. Right. That's the American society. It's about, and then too, when we have issues, we've been programmed that, you know what, I'm just going to take a pill and that's going to solve it.
It's not.
No, that's not going to solve anything. That's a Band-Aid.
Right.
It's not going to solve anything.
So where's the inner work? There needs to be some exercise.
As we were talking about it earlier.
All of it is. You came to Inception the other day, right?
Yes. That was the most beautiful experience ever on Friday. Yeah. What is it called?
Inner Reset Circuit or the Magnosphere. You really like the Magnosphere.
I really loved it. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to be as relaxed as I was.
And then reading is another big thing, tapping into nature.
Grounding. Putting your feet on the ground.
So my biggest thing is prayer. To me, in the last few years, I've really tapped into my religion. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the most beautiful thing ever. Because when you have that relationship with your higher power, who I call God, It's just a very peaceful way.
Do you feel like the culture is losing its foundational principles to that higher power?
100%. And I think that's why we're having these many problems as we are.
I think people are losing focus on what's
important.
really important.
Yeah.
More than anything, I think that people are losing focus on what's important.
Right.
You know, and these materialistic things, the social media, all this stuff all factors in. You know, people need to understand that, you know, mental health is real.
So I think that you're right.
And but the thing is, they need to help themselves. You can't
help
expect,
other people,
you
right.
can't, you know, consider how hard it is changing yourself. Then
Yeah.
try to change somebody else.
And that's what I've had
You
for
know.
years, where I have people that maybe listen to obviously the podcast hasn't been out for years, but they'll come into Inception, they'll hear about it, they'll feel like, well, I need to bring in so-and-so. They need to bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
My first thing is always you. Why are you bringing somebody else in when you have not started your work? Because it's easier to go and bring somebody else in when you've started your own work.
Absolutely.
You had an experience now that nobody can take that first experience away from you. So it's easier to be like, yeah, you need to come to this place. And that's why I made it and call it a mental health gym, where it's just not like this idea like, oh, you're going to see the therapist. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's like, no, when you go to the gym, you got to work out your body. Like, and the thing about mental health is, this is the lie. Mental health is not mental. It's physical.
It is physical and mental.
Yes, it's
mental,
all,
spiritual, it's everything.
It's everything.
Bodies,
It
for sure.
is. Everything factors in.
So we have to stop like separating this ideas. It's just all in your head. No, it's in my body too.
It's everywhere.
100%.
It's what you feel it. You
Yeah.
can feel it in your body. I mean, it's
Well,
not,
again, 70% of hospital or doctors' visits are stress related.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
is mental health.
And it's only
You know?
and it's only on the rise, and people are dying, and they're dying from something that has a solution, something that there's a problem. We know there's a problem, and nobody's doing anything about it.
But if you're being in denial of it, this makes it worse. But I think there's a probably a population within your population that is doing things. Maybe you're just not too connected to it yet, but they're there, and they're probably watching both of you and listening to both of you, and it's just like, that they need that spark.
So they need to there needs to be something where something is funded, where people know about it, where things are brought to light, where light is shed on this.
Well, you need influencers.
Yeah.
You need influencers to begin pushing, and you need big influencers that can begin pushing that message again.
I just wish that people would feel comfortable enough to come forward. I mean, I do have people approach me and say, Safaa, I'm struggling with this or I'm struggling with that. But I feel like the number of ODs that we've been having lately, it's been increasing steadily and quickly.
What are they ODing from?
So mostly heroin.
It's insane.
So I work with the Troy Police Department on their quick response team. And every week we work with any drug or alcohol related offenses that have happened in the last week or two. And any ODs that have happened. So we go out to those homes and we talk to the people and who have OD'd and offer them resources. We offer them help. We just kind of check on them and see how they're doing. And we need more programs like this, like in every department, in every police department.
Does that become a stain, like the scarlet letter to the family, or to the when someone ODs or someone commits suicide?
Yeah, they cover it up. They always try to cover it up.
It's always a cover-up.
It's always a cover up, and it's just so sad.
What is the cover up language?
Nobody
like?
will talk about it. They died in their sleep.
Yeah.
They had
They'll never admit that
never
it was substance
admit it
abuse
was
related.
substance abuse. And if the rare few that do admit, they feel like they definitely feel like they've been shamed upon. I mean, and it's sad, because if you know the amount of people that are struggling in that city, you would be shocked.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It is pretty bad.
And it's to the point where, like, I mean, I'm 1,000% sure every household has somebody that's struggling
With what?
with some kind
Substance
of
abuse.
substance abuse.
You said every
With
household?
every household.
I would
wanna
say
I mean,
95%.
I mean,
95%?
yes, absolutely.
So
In
what are we
city.
talking about? We talking about alcohol? What are
We're
we talking
talking
about?
Whether it be
Pills.
alcohol, whether it be pills, whether
Uh-huh.
it be
Marijuana. But since
Marijuana.
marijuana has been legalized, everything went downhill.
whether
You think it got worse?
It got 100 times worse.
and there's those tanks too.
Even what
those
tanks?
tanks. No, I swear, and I'm gonna talk about it because
Said
those are
what?
serious too
What
in the
tanks are you
community
talking
of
about?
Dearborn.
You ain't talking about float tanks, are you?
They are tanks. The balloons.
You're talking about the nitrous tanks.
Nitrous
Yeah.
tanks.
Which are a
That's-
big deal. I seen someone driving around with a tank the other day.
When you starting when you start to sip on balloons, I mean, there's a level of pain that you're at when you're like literally sipping on balloons.
But
like,
the effect, the long-term effect is so much worse than people think.
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah,
And
I
that's,
mean,
I
you're
think-
causing brain damage with
Yeah,
that type
Exactly.
of stuff from
absolutely.
balloons.
And-
Have you seen any of Dr. Amon's spec scans?
No.
Oh, you got to go
And
look
this
at
is an
Dr. Amon.
active thing that's going on in the city of Dearborn, where people are getting these tanks and doing balloons regularly.
So what we're saying is there's that amount of pain within the community that you think 95% of every household has someone dealing with some type of substance abuse. And typically the person who's dealing with the substance abuse is typically just my mom calls this a certain term, and you may know as like the identified client, where they're just the ones taking on all the symptoms
Absolutely.
from the family.
The family, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, they're firsthand.
You know, you have a background. What is the
absolutely.
name of it?
I can't remember the name of it, but kind of like they're like firsthand. It's it's not
Like the
direct.
secondhand smoke type of
secondhand-
thing, yeah.
yeah.
What is it,
I
secondary
can't remember.
trauma?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's
Yeah.
a specific name.
But it's
for
like
it.
it's like my mom called it something identified something. It's like
There is a specific.
you're taking on. Is that person who's just they're not able to like keep it all in. They're the ones
They
that
need to. Yeah, it needs to come
that's
out.
expressing it outwardly.
Yeah.
But
Are
it's
you talking
it's
about the family?
but it's from the whole family unit.
Right.
It's not like there's just that one person is just that person's dealing with substance in the family. No. That person's dealing with
the
everybody but the
family.
family and drinks
And-
to deal with that.
Exactly. No, it's
And
true.
internalizing everything. That one kid
Yeah.
of the family is internalizing everything.
And
Exactly.
we
So
were
that's the
talking about it
person.
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Safa and I were actually talking about this. Was it yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, and we were talking about how that's why it's reached the point where it's okay if you have to stop talking to family. It's okay if
Mm.
you need to to disappear. It's okay for
Removing
your own
toxicity.
The removal of toxicity is so important, and it's something that I had to do, like personally, and ever since I did it, nothing but good things.
I think it's
have
an ongoing
happened.
process where, you find yourself in toxic situations. You find people around you are toxic, and it's just a nice toxic removal of
Oh, and once
people, places, and things.
You can't heal
You
in the
know?
same environment that caused the issues to
You
begin
cannot.
with. And so
100%.
now we talk back to that thing called boundaries. And just from, an observer of, some of my friends who are Middle Eastern and even some who are in the Indian community, it's just like this. It's this. Like, I've always had a reverence for, like, your guys' connectedness, and a lot of black people, we do that. We'll like, glamorize the other cultures, like, but y'all so connected, and y'all, like, do stuff together, then we'll talk to y'all, and I'm like, no.
No, it's not. It's not. It's again, and it's why things don't. And that's a good point, because people can understand that things aren't always what they appear to be.
Right.
And
So y'all don't feel like, but y'all aren't connected. We had
some
this
people-
conversation.
some
So do
people
y'all?
are.
Because in business wise, y'all own a lot of stuff in black people communities, and we look at that and we like, but y'all got businesses and y'all making
Yeah.
money, and we just look at like,
It's the ego, right? Isn't that what we're talking about? Is the ego?
yeah.
Right.
I mean, in nature, the Middle Eastern people are they like they're hard workers. They are that I'll give them, the men. But
I've heard, well,
she's like,
go ahead and say
but
what
then
you're
you
gonna say,
have some-
Safa. Don't sit over there and just not
Safa's
say
like-
nothing. Go ahead.
I think they
'Cause
are.
Safa-
you know,
Shrugging my
like-
shoulders.
Safa, you're a different generation
Listen,
than
there's
her, right?
some
Yeah.
that aren't.
Okay,
There's
let's
some
hear
that
let's hear
aren't.
from your standpoint from that generation, from what you've seen.
In what?
You just
What
said
area?
something, and your face was just like about the hard working and all these different things.
Well, there are a lot of hardworking men, but I just feel like some of them like the easy way out, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of them are hustlers.
So are they into it? And that's what I thought about because
Yeah.
a
Well,
lot
that's-
of illegal activities,
Yes.
Oh, yes.
scamming.
And I don't want to go there. I
Yeah.
don't want to talk about
But
that.
that's all. But this
I'm
is the,
from
that's
here,
the
so I've
newer.
heard. So, like, again, back down to my friends who are Middle Eastern, who I would talk to. Like my one friend who owns a restaurant, won't be named, and I was like, yo, y'all community, y'all stick together. And he's like, shit. He was like, man, my brother-in-law stole $1 million from me. I was like, what?
Yeah, you'll hear
Oh,
that
yeah.
often. You
That
see
happens all the
brothers. I
time.
mean, I was where was I one time? I was picking up something from the mosque years ago, and I walked in and I found brothers fighting over a piece of the mom just died or something, and they were fighting over a piece of like land, like inside the mosque.
That
they were
happens
like
very
at
often
war.
in our culture.
And I was like, what is going
And these
on?
things happen in all cultures, for sure. It happens in our culture. It happens in black
insane.
culture. It's like, oh, Big Mama died, so Big Mama
yeah.
left the house. Who's? No, it's my house. Like,
Right.
But what we'll do is it will take over the house that was paid for. And next, you know, it's in foreclosure.
That's so sad.
Like, how do we squander away something that was paid for and give it to us, and we weren't able to upkeep it? So let's talk about even from that. Do you feel like in a culture that and I'm asking this just from my own experience, does it seem like the women coddle the boys, the men, at a young age and growing up? Do y'all spoil those men?
we were just talking about that.
You know, I did for the longest time.
We do.
We do.
Because women, you guys feel different than the men. It's like you're treated differently. Like the men are princes, and what are y'all? Are y'all princes?
I don't
Are y'all
think so.
princesses?
I
No,
don't
we're
think.
not
I definitely
princesses.
don't
We're
think.
queens.
Yeah.
Y'all queens? But I mean, are you raised as a queen? Do you feel like you're raised with that level of like, oh, you're a queen? Like, because the young men that I've seen in the culture is like,
Okay.
they're little princes, the
Yeah.
spoiled princes,
Yes,
and
I
then
hear you.
We weren't.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
wasn't.
No.
At least I wasn't raised that way. No.
No?
I actually, you know, I have a brother. He was always actually treated better.
that's what I'm asking. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like,
And always like his life was so much easier. You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah.
and it's funny because I have 2 kids, so I get it, and I have my boys, which I do coddle.
Yeah. No.
So you end up doing the same thing. You coddle them.
I
It's
do,
like,
but-
do you just
but
give
I-
them
but
what they
I-
want? Or is it a lesson? Is there
So I try to
earning?
do better.
So I can tell you because I have a son and I have a daughter, and I can relate to what you just said. Because I think from the outside looking in, it can seem as though I'm coddling him more, but I think in reality it's because I'm more worried about the daughter, about my daughter,
Okay.
and just growing up in this cruel world. I just worry more about how she is because we're females, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm harder on her, and I just want to teach her more, to be tough.
It's a man's world. Listen, whether we want to believe it or not, whether people want to deny it,
Well,
it's a man's world.
Most thing that was built
and it's
was
not
built by
yeah.
men's hand, right?
Yeah.
And it's not made for women, especially divorced with kids, to succeed. It's
I would
not.
say that right there is definitely.
It's not.
That's definitely not your world to come out and to be a single mother with kids. It's harder.
It is.
Because let's talk about this. How are you looked upon? First of all, I don't even know. You said you're married?
I'm divorced.
You're divorced, so you're single?
I'm single.
With 2 kids, you're single?
Divorce.
Divorced.
Single.
So how does
Yeah,
how
for real.
how do the men look at single mothers with kids in the culture?
You know,
That's
I
a
gave
good
up on
question.
trying to explain them. I gave up on trying to explain men.
I mean,
don't know.
do you feel like a single
I
guy
think
would not
they-
want to talk to
they-
you because you have kids?
I
Or
think maybe they think we're damaged, but we're not. We're just experienced and we see through the bullshit.
I don't think that either. No,
tell
yeah.
us how you really feel.
I
Sasha.
think they're not intimidated from. It's not the kids or that. I think more that we know better. You know, because I've dated men that were didn't have kids, and it wasn't a problem. But you know, their ways don't work anymore. Like, you know, we know better. And when you know better, you do better. So the games, the you know, the drama, the BS, it doesn't work with us.
Yeah.
We know better. We see
Because we're
through it.
experienced. We've been there. We've done that. We understand. It's
The level of understanding is on a different level. It really is. When you've been through a lot, you know, again, like we were saying, divorce, 2 kids, you know, I did go to school, I did graduate, I do own my own business. I didn't get to where I am because I'm dumb, you know, and I don't understand,
right.
you know.
Okay, now with that in mind, are the women becoming more educated than the men?
I don't think we're becoming more educated than
In
the
terms
men.
of like, because in the black community, there's a lot of our men were imprisoned. One for selling weed, because now it's becoming that's a whole nother story. That's just not even right.
I know. Yeah, I know.
But the women in the culture a lot of times have education.
Right.
They've overtaken us and becoming more educated than more women more educated than men. Is that a similar breakdown that's happening in your community?
I feel like women are becoming more educated, but I don't think more educated than men. I think we're becoming equal, right? Because more women are stepping up and wanting to do better for themselves and saying, you know what, I'm not just going to be that stay-at-home mom that you're expecting me to be.
Okay.
I am going to be independent. I'm going to own my own business.
Okay, great. Now, with that in mind,
Yeah.
how is the role reversal happening in the households? Because anytime that a woman is going to go and become very educated and go open businesses and things of that nature, you're going to go out and you're going to be taking on a certain energy that you maybe hadn't taken on before. Right. And that's fine. But then that energy that exists, how are you using that energy with the relationships you're having with each other? Because you'll find that typically that when a woman is super educated and super, you know, business oriented, it's like it's a clash between men and women. So
not good at all.
we're seeing it in our culture. So it's like I'm just looking at it as a pattern. Like all cultures are kind of going through this, and this is
it's hard.
This is American culture. Mm-hmm. How is it overseas? How is it in Egypt? Are they still holding on to true family unit principles? Or
I think
you know,
it is.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think but I think Egypt is becoming more modernized for sure.
Americanized or modernized? Because those are two different
Modernized.
things. Okay,
And Americanized.
Americanized and modernized.
I think both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's like a role reversal that's been happening within all of our cultures where the men may seem more intimidated by the woman now because she's.
Do you think it's a role reverse, or do you think it's just women are stepping up more?
I think it's a multitude of things that's happening. It's down to our drinking water.
Yeah, I do. I think everything factors in. At this
Hormonally,
moment,
we're off. Men's testosterone numbers have been dipping year after year.
Right. Yeah.
It's because we're drinking microplastics within the water and the food supply. So I grew up with a mother who worked. She was still at home cooking food and you know, and she taught me how to wash my clothes and iron my clothes and cook. My dad taught me how to cook food, and it was not like this thing of like, you know, as a man you only do this. It's like, no, I'm multifaceted. I can do these things, but I do appreciate the essence of a woman coming in and bringing aside that I can do, but I don't do well.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I'm just wondering how that dynamic within the culture, and these shifts change
they
us
do.
mentally, emotionally. If I can't
It's hard.
if I can't provide for you in a way that we used to provide for you, am I still a man? You know, that type of thing. And if you can't do what you normally do as a woman, like you don't know how to cook, are you still a woman? You know, these ideologies and like they're changing.
They are. They definitely are. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard, especially too when you have like I'm a parent that I think my son, you know, I teach him how to do laundry. I teach him how to, you know, I don't. There's no this is for girls, this is for boys. It doesn't work like that in my house. You know, they do everything that a girl would do, literally everything. But then you have their father who instills different values, like no, you shouldn't be doing that. No, you you know it's a battle. It's literally it's like it's like you're playing.
I would say my dad never told me like no, you shouldn't wash the dishes or something like, or my mom, but my mom did give me different roles that were different than my sister, just to, you know, like David, you clean the bathroom, your sister's gonna clean the kitchen. That was just like the thing. But having a masculine man in my life and having him taking me out there and doing business, and you know, we move in a different energy.
Of
I
course.
think that's different when you have a male figure.
And it's so much easier to deal with things when there is that masculine energy
Of
around.
course.
It is.
It makes it easier for the kids.
much easier.
My dad worked nights. He worked evenings at GM, and sometimes he would get home probably about 12 o'clock. And I can just remember sometimes when I was up, I would hear the garage door open. And you don't know how much that level of safety that provided for me to know that my dad was home and my dad was there.
Absolutely.
You know, like we're more protected. Now,
Of course.
you know, we felt safe before, but that level, my mom is in there, but
No, it's not the same.
it's a thing that you can't, the same thing with women. There's a thing with women you can't replace.
Yeah,
Right.
And we going through these role reversals where it's almost like we diminish each other, like there's something wrong with being in a woman's feminine essence, and there's something wrong with a man being in his masculine essence.
Right.
It seems like we're confused.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
do you see that in the culture?
Yeah, it's getting worse.
1,000%, and it's only getting worse. But I think women, I don't think that women want to have that role. I don't think they want to do all these things.
I don't think so either.
But we are
We're forced
You're
to
forced
be like
to.
that.
do
You're
these
forced to do
things
that,
because
Single moms, for sure.
100%, because the man that you chose or the man that you're with didn't.
I like how you said that.
You know,
You definitely said it right. The man that you chose, you chose that man.
you know, didn't, fulfill
So let me
that
ask y'all,
part.
who's the man that y'all chose? Who are the men that y'all chose?
Well,
Y'all not together with them?
No,
Like,
I'm not
did you
together.
feel like that was not
So,
good
but
choices?
It
or?
wasn't. So they failed you. They
They
failed
failed
your
you?
expectation. Yes, 100%.
I
They
don't
failed
think
their
so.
role.
They failed you?
Absolutely.
I don't
What
think
what was the thing that they supposed to do to succeed you?
They failed at their role, like making, providing that energy that made you feel
But
safe.
you chose that guy.
I did, but I was 18.
That's true.
things
I had
shift
no
over
business
time, though.
choosing anybody.
But that's the problem though, that we're not educated, and I don't mean like we sit down in the class and go through the whiteboard, but we're not given the opportunity to really understand what that means, again, to be at 18 years old.
I had no
Yeah.
business
You don't
being.
know.
No,
You
You're
don't
not
know.
developed.
That's what I'm so.
I'm
I was
like
forced.
being married at 18. No, I will say, I mean, again, I will say that because I grew up with a masculine man in the house, I thought I was going to be married earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw when I came out here was, and I didn't know that I was seeing it until later, was the role reversal.
Yeah.
It's like, why is it so hard
Yeah.
to, why is it so many games? And
It is
well,
crazy.
And so you have to go down this journey of learning yourself and learning what you really want.
Exactly.
So yeah, you did choose, but you chose.
I chose,
but out of the awareness that you had at that point in
absolutely.
time.
And based on my choices, I had to change my life and make it to this is how it is now.
How much did you learn when you went to school about? Because you said you had a background in like psychology, right?
yeah,
like how much did that
absolutely.
play a factor in like understanding what happened to you?
Definitely, it played a big factor, and mainly the aspect of communicating with others during classes, more than the actual education itself. You know, just being around people,
Different cultures?
different backgrounds. You know, that helped more. More than I think. I always say this. It's so funny, but
Well,
I say more than the actual education itself.
Let's talk about the different culture things, because I see you hang around a lot of black people
I do.
that I noticed. So what is
I
it that
do. I'm
what
very
what is
open.
it that you do you hang around? Do you have black friends in your life?
I don't know, but
Okay.
I work. I work. My clients are a lot. Of the black, like a lot of the black people, and I mean, amazing people. Just honestly, just being able to experience and meet new people and from different backgrounds has been life
Because
changing.
I find that when you come from an environment that, and I'm gonna use the word strict.
Yeah.
Because I would outside in. I'm just looking outside in. I would consider your environment more strict, and strict not just from just being strict, but strict probably from a religious standpoint. And then when you meet people who are from a different culture, we got a little bit more freedom.
Right.
What did that do for you?
I just think that skin color is just skin color. It has nothing to do with, your beliefs or my beliefs. As long as you're a good human being, that's all that matters to me. I really choose healthy people, to hang around, and I don't choose toxicity
But you're
anymore.
choosing that now? How was it then before?
Before, there was no filter. I mean, it
Yeah.
just, everything was okay, and I would hang out with whoever. But today I'm older, and I've been through a lot. I have a lot of experience. So I just believe skin color is really nothing. As long as you're a good human being, that's all that matters.
Yeah, but okay, I understand that. But what did you get specifically from being around black people? There's something that we specifically, because again, I can pick up certain things from Middle Eastern people that I can say that I like
you can be
from you.
open.
So
You
what is
can
it?
be
What do you
I
think
feel
that you?
like maybe just being open.
Because we are open, loving people.
I love how I love how it's
Black people are
black
very
people are
open.
very
And-
open.
and I always
and
say
fun,
their
and
faith
they're in
God.
tune with
Yeah.
themselves.
And
you
their
know?
faith in God is so much stronger than any culture, I think. Personally.
Really?
Yes. I always say this.
Well, I mean, when you got 400 years of slavery, and you got to believe in something that's gonna help you. I mean, that's just.
do. Yeah, but
So,
they're definitely more open.
You got to think faith.
Yeah.
How much faith we had to have to be able to go through
100%.
that and not be. It's amazing that 400 years later that any black person is around. Go look at the
Yeah.
Native Americans and what's happened with them. And then when we look at the cultures, and you probably can go back into your cultures and see what happened when you came over here. We got to go back to trauma and why we're acting the way and doing the things that we're doing anyway.
Absolutely.
It's all from environment situations.
And I'm seeing a rise also with black men, just me personally in the professional field. Like I have a lot of my clients, they're opening new businesses, truck drivers, trucking businesses. I actually insure a lot of them.
Oh, insurance, yeah.
Amazing. Just absolutely amazing.
Well, you're on. So this network that I do the podcast on is Earn Your Leisure's Network. It's the #1 financial podcast by Troy, my guys Troy and Rashad, and what they're doing is doing financial literacy for the black community, and it's so big now. And it's like we're talking about real estate. They got trucking. So what you're seeing
I'm
is
seeing a tremendous increase. It's amazing. It's honestly amazing.
that's what you're seeing, and
I feel like
and
people are helping themselves now.
yeah, and we're starting to again like podcasts like this. We're starting to like understand the importance of the mental emotional side, because you can't get to you can talk about financial abundance and all those other things, but as you see in your community, there's a lot of financial abundance there. Would you say?
Are they like from parents or like?
there's more financial abundance than what Black people see within our community.
Listen,
There's more
absolutely.
businesses. There's more, like I see, again, I'll go to Birmingham. I say, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, you got a Lamborghini truck, like, just like, what do you do? Like, that's
Yeah.
so it's more. There's historically been more business opportunity for Middle Easterners than it has been for Black people. We're just starting to come and take control of our beliefs and
Absolutely.
say, I can do it. And
Absolutely.
see other people do it. So y'all see each other do it all the time.
Absolutely.
We're just now.
Yeah.
They say it's a rise. We're just now starting to see each other like
It is a
really
rise.
start to do things with business.
Kind of
Yeah.
like the women, for example. Like we're now just
Exactly. Exactly.
definitely. But you know what? And I feel again when you're taking control of your life. When you're aware and you know, you can do more.
And I've been seeing it at a younger age too.
Yeah.
These younger kids,
Yeah,
15, 16, they're starting to get into real estate, at such,
such a young age.
Yeah, so
Even this
it's
guy that I'm
amazing.
telling you, this man, he just started his trucking business and he came to me and got insurance. He's he's like 20, he has his own business and he already like started hauling because I've been in communicating with him for the past couple of weeks, setting up his policy and doing his federal filings and all that. Just he's doing amazing already, and he follows up with me too. Like I ask him and all that. He's doing absolutely amazing.
I just wish that people who are, doing more for themselves, financially or, with their businesses, that they have the same kind of mental health outreach. I wish it could be balanced because
Well, typically it's the opposite, right? It's like, I got this money, but you don't have the peace.
exactly. You can have all the money in the world, but where's your peace? So I just really want more people to be able to reach out, to the right person and to professionals. That's all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
Because it's very healthy.
that's why you're here, right?
There's this huge stigma.
Balance.
Yeah. I mean, especially with our culture, I feel like there's this huge stigma
Yeah.
that we need to address. There has to be more education. So that's a big thing with me is I'm trying to create these programs to be able to give education to the middle schoolers, high schoolers, because there is lack of education when it comes to mental health and substance abuse. Why not that be a part of our curriculum in schools?
And you have to start young because the older generation are where they are.
You can't
They're
change
stuck.
that. That's it.
They're not.
That's done.
Yeah,
Right.
that's done. So you better start.
You gotta accept
your
them.
generation.
It's
Your
prevention.
generation
Yeah.
is just like we got to start going down and reaching there to create that change.
Yeah.
That where growing up in the next 15 years, it would seem abnormal for there not to be boundaries in a family.
Absolutely.
It'd be abnormal not to be able to express that you're sad or that you're depressed or that you're anxious.
Right.
It'd be abnormal that it's okay to feel feelings that don't feel great.
Yeah.
Like,
And
like
that's
what?
what I teach my
Like, what are we
kids,
talking
too.
about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I teach my
100%.
kids that all the time. It's like I'm in the mental health field, and I know, I'm able to approach my kids and let them know, hey, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be sad, but just talk about it. You can feel all your feelings.
Yeah.
If you're angry, you don't have to react on those feelings.
So how are you feeling in raising your kids and seeing how they listen to that and be able to process their
They've
emotions?
grown a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a difference when you sit down and actually have that conversation with your kids. My kids are 11 and 12. And I sit down and I have that hour-long conversation. They talk about bullies in school, and I address that with them. I'll address it with the counselor. We take action. We don't just sit back and not do anything because it'll only get worse.
What about you, Faith?
Absolutely. I actually have my younger son. I have him in therapy, because he's like a little mini me.
He's like what?
He's like a little mini me. He is
Yeah.
full of emotion, full of love, and full of and sometimes he doesn't know how to channel it. And sometimes in the school that he goes in, goes to doesn't help much.
Right.
I mean, it took.
What type of schools did he go to?
He goes to a public school in Dearborn.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the main population in public schools in Dearborn?
The one that he goes to
100%.
is like 100%, Arab. And I have him, he does see the social worker 2 days a week at his school but more so that they don't know how to deal with someone, which, my son, they don't know how to deal with someone that's having like certain mental, breakdowns, mental problems. And, what people don't understand, kids have them too.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. And
Well, people don't realize that the kids have them because they're in two environments. Where are the two
Yeah.
environments that they're
Yes.
mainly at?
Yeah.
Home
Home and
school.
school. But that's life, though. Things are stressful. Things can happen. People don't get along. There's all kinds of different factors, whether you're in the home or school. My daughter comes home all the time with the whole bullying thing, but that's just how young girls are. They just don't get along.
Yeah, and so the good thing to teach the kids is emotional regulation. It's like the gazelle that got away from the lion. And gazelle goes and he shakes and he discharges and it gets that out of the body and it goes up 100 yards and eats more grass. It doesn't deal with post traumatic stress. And if you're teaching your kids emotional regulation and knowing how to, okay, you were up here when that bully was doing this, but you got to get back down to a baseline and to levels of peace. And we're right now in a society where we're stuck above, and you're trying to have people who are out of balance, stuck in survival mode, trying to raise kids to do what? To be at peace. They're not going to raise a kid to be at peace when you're stuck in survival mode and trauma.
Right.
So I think the whole conversation of what we have been talking about is just raising people's awareness. And it's not just, again, I don't want people to think that we were coming at the Arabic community. It's just, you're in the community, you're sharing your stories and you're sharing what's happening and what you've experienced. And that's very important. And as more and more of these conversations going out here, you're going to find that a lot of people feel the same way you feel and don't really know what even to do. So in your community, what is the things that you do? Who do you not just talk therapy, but who is it that you connect to be able to?
Someone you trust.
Yeah, someone you trust, and sometimes it's a friend. And that friend can be a professional. I think counselors, therapists, coaches. I don't know.
And you've listened to a lot of Anthony Robbins before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins is amazing.
Tony Robbins, yeah.
I went to one of his things before.
That's how I really that sparked me when I was 21.
Yeah.
I got cassette tapes.
I need to go there. He was amazing. Yeah. I just want people to know that they're not alone. Everyone goes through things. I've been through things in my life, and I'm okay today. And I want to be able to give back to the community and help those people who are struggling with mental health or substance abuse.
That's your thing too, Faith?
Absolutely.
So y'all should start a podcast?
Absolutely.
Both of y'all start your own podcast?
At this point, we know something's got to be done.
Yeah. 100%.
There's a serious problem. Something's got. If and it's so funny because if they know like how easy it like one conversation. One person that you trust saying the right things can change so much. And that's all it really takes. Sometimes it's just one conversation. That's it.
Right. So because I've been, I went down a path of self-destruction in the past, but I've overcome it, and it's been years, since I've been working on myself. And I just want to be able to help those who are struggling with what I went through. Just like you said, it can be one conversation. Like on social media, people contact me all the time, and it's like that small text, that short text that you texted me and I texted you back, that made their day and it made them change their mind. They're reaching out for help now, and it's, saving one life at a time.
And sometimes it's easier to get that help from someone that you trust that's not someone that you like a family member.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. You know, family isn't always
Or
right.
somebody
Yeah.
who looks like you. Sometimes it's good to talk to people outside of your culture because we have different
Different views.
we don't
It's important.
see things the same way. Certain things that may be a block to you, and we be like, "You live like that? Like, why do you do that?" Like,
Right? Yeah.
right? Because I've done that before. Like certain people that I've talked to, I've had some white mentors before,
Yeah.
and I saw the way that they lived, and it was like, well, why do I live like that? Why do I think like that? You know, culture can definitely be a helper, and it's a good thing, right? There's certain things about your culture that you love, right?
Absolutely.
And there's certain things
Our
about
food.
Yeah, I love the food. I love the food. But then there's also certain things that you know that, you know what, maybe this isn't
right.
serving me.
No.
You know, it might have been a thing at a certain time because it served you at a certain point in time within the
Right.
culture, but
Not no more.
that's not resourceful. And I think what we're having is a problem of, as we move forward, and I don't think it's just your culture, I think it's the collective culture, is that we're moving away from things that you should never get rid of, which is principles. Certain principles. When you talked about, you got back to certain faith principles, there's certain things that you never should get abandoned.
Never.
Even as we
Right.
learn new things, treat others as you would want to be treated. Understanding the laws of reaping, sowing, and reaping.
Absolutely.
What you put out there is going to come back
Karma.
on you.
Absolutely.
And it always does.
It comes
Yeah.
back worse.
Worse. That's what people don't understand. That's why just do good.
You know, and understanding that, one, whatever you resist will persist. Those very emotions that you're resisting, it's the reason why you have substance abuse issues, because you're not addressing the emotions inside. You're not addressing right what's in front of you. You can't put your head in the sand and think that life is just going to get better because, one, I'm just going to accumulate all this money and then life is going to be amazing.
No.
Or I'm going to, you know, meet the man of my dream or the woman of my dream and my life is going to be amazing. Your life is on the
not.
inside of you. It's
Yeah.
an inside job.
Yep.
So thank you. This is the first conversation. This is the conversation that you talked about, a conversation. Some people need one conversation.
One
Well, here it is,
conversation.
people.
Yeah.
Here's your conversation for your community. Till next time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
La la la. You've been listening to the Inner Wealth Podcast on EYL.
Get out the matrix and live.
Theme song produced by Be Ready for West Coast Creations. I am Raz Cass, reminding you to take action, be proactive, be congruent, get out of the matrix, get your mind right. We've automated mental health at inception. Join the movement.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth
La
Podcast.
la la la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
Get out the matrix and live.